Here we are, peoples. Last session of the day. I am so excited for this. This is our second lightning rounds with Luminaries. How many of you here were with us yesterday for this? And do you have a good time? Right? It was really, really fun. Nick did a great job emceeing, and my friend Gordon Bellamy is going to do the same. So we have 6 different future visions of what the world and the Games for Change is going to be like in 20 years. This is kind of like our next class of Games for Change influencers. Some of them have been having influence for a while now, perhaps not for the last 20 years, but in a more recent future. But I got to tell you, they are going to be our future. So we are excited to hear what they have to say about what the world is going to be like in 20 years. So I'm going to let Gordon take it away as our MC. Gordon Bellamy.
Now we're going to keep this moving on time, but first, let's give a hand to Suzanne and this entire team that's brought us together. It's really special. It's grateful to be here. So our first speakers, we actually have a duo. So for everyone familiar with the format, it's 3 minutes, 20 slides, amazing thoughts about the future. Our first pair is Dr. Joanneke Weermeester and Sarah Ticho from the XR Health Alliance and from the behavioral scientists from Explore Deep. So I'm gonna just bring them out. They get music too, right? To come on out here and do their first talk. So come on out. Thank you for being here.
Where's our clicker?
Essential part of our social and emotional well-being. It's the way that from a young age we learn about ourselves and about the world around us. And we strongly believe that we can use play to transform healthcare, to make it more participatory, to make it more personalized, and most importantly, to make it more playful. So we would like to share our vision of the future. A future where our ivory towers have become dismantled and where transdisciplinary collaboration will have become the standard. Where we will have found a shared language and a united vision and a clear workflow between science, healthcare, art, and game design. And so we will have developed multiple playful, engaging, and impactful solutions to healthcare.
And to do that, I think that one of the most pertinent issues that we are going to solve, it's not a case of if we will solve it, but when we solve it, is the barriers to access. We need to find innovative new ways to bring together cross-sector funding to enable artists and games designers and scientists and patients to work together. And ultimately, I truly believe that we need central frameworks for supporting, implementing, and sustaining playful media at a national level and a global level as well. Thank you. Because ultimately, I think that we see games as not just part of this medical model, but a future where holistic approaches to care are both preventative as well as empowering to people as well. So we need to use games and storytelling as a way of bringing awareness and education to complex issues. How do we create an emotional intelligence as a vital part of our education from a young age? How do we talk about financial well-being and empower people to understand how to manage their money from a really young age? And the connections between poverty and mental health are quite astounding. And finally, I'm also an end-of-life doula, and I really think that what we need to do is start destigmatizing conversations about end of life, normalizing talking about it and planning for it as well. And lastly, I think that beyond the medical model, we really need to look at the future of preventative care. How we can empower people with skills to look after themselves before they get sick as well. And in the UK, we're doing really exciting work around social prescribing, prescribing arts to people as a form of connection, self-knowledge, fitness, and using that as a tool of reducing health inequalities. And as part of that, the future is really about how we can utilize public spaces. That's libraries, that's museums, that's art galleries, that's train stations, that's schools, and taking lots of this incredible work, which happens in amazing places like New York, but how do we take it to tiny villages in the middle of nowhere where people can truly benefit from it the most? And I'm really proud to say that we actually do this work already, and or really trying to, and really embody that through collaborations that we do at Explore Deep, where we bring together artists and scientists to create experiences that are available in museums and galleries and hospitals and youth detention centres. Lastly, my role with the XR Health Alliance, we're actually creating a national strategy for XR and healthcare in the UK. And I'm really excited to see how we can work together globally to think about how we can solve this problem at an international level, and how we can work with anthropologists and scientists, artists, to come together to rethink the future of healthcare. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you both very much. And you did it on time, so I get a little calm, like 24 seconds right now. I'm gonna really just sort of sit in the pocket here. Now, we have an outstanding speaker next. This is great. It's like a tiramisu of goodness we're gonna get today. I'm very happy. So next up is also honorary, well, no spoilers, but Grace Collins, CEO of Snowbright Studios, will be next to share their thoughts. Grace, can you hear me? Grace, are you there? Grace, the stage and the 3 minutes are yours.
Hey, thanks everybody. Oh, I'm not gonna look at the clock, that's okay. Hi everybody, I'm Grace Collins. I use they, them pronouns. I run Snowbright Studio, an LGBTQ+ game studio located in Cleveland, Ohio. We make heartwarming games, including Tea Time Adventures, a tabletop RPG where every adventure comes with a recipe and a tea pairing. I said that I could do a plug if I kept it under 5 seconds. But many of you know me from my time in the government. I worked at the Smithsonian Institution leading game development and technical projects there, and later I led games and education policy for the executive branch under President Obama and President Trump. And later I'd go on to found the first ever esports team at an all-girls school, and so that's actually what I'm here today to talk about is high school esports. I made a lot of predictions back then about the role that esports would take in the world of education. I was one of the first people, I think the first person, I don't know, in the federal government to have a meeting about esports. It was kind of weird at the time. People looked at me funny, but that's nothing new. So some of those predictions I made along with Dr. Elizabeth Newberry, who's also here today at the conference, and we co-published some of those predictions through our respective federal offices way back in 2017. So what were some of those trends? Well, as many of you know, Robert Morris College was the first college to come out with an esports scholarship all the way back in 2014. And Liz and I watched in real time at how quickly colleges began to adopt merit scholarships around esports. By 2017, 35 colleges had scholarship programs, and today there are nearly 200 colleges with scholarship programs in the United States. So why does that matter? What does that have to do with people involved in education policy? The rise of esports in education meant that movement of money and changes to access to college, right? And those are two very important things in education, money and access. So as soon as you say money, as soon as you say access, it becomes an equity question. The Department of Education is a civil rights institution and a civil rights agency, and therefore it cares very much about equity, or it should. The rise of esports in collegiate and K-12 spaces has led to new building investments, new faculty and staff hires, new admissions processes, new events. It's also meant that new types of students have been able to get into colleges or have been able to take on less debt when they are in college. That's the power of esports, and it's the ability to bring in students that often fall between the cracks to make them feel like they matter. And that prediction, that hope that I had back in 2017, and honestly before that, has become a reality for so many. But along with that, what I didn't expect, and I really should have, what I didn't expect was the discrimination and the hardships that would come along with the field in that effort. Today, we see colleges across the United States finding creative ways to sidestep or avoid Title IX restrictions, to avoid having to make efforts to increase diversity on esports teams. We see schools overworking students, profiting off of them, and worse yet, we see women and trans students harassed, excluded, and forgotten by those programs. We see games being uplifted that are dedicated solely and marketed solely to the dominant stereotypical young male gamer. We see a lack of student input in the decisions that guide their lives. I didn't anticipate that. I really should have, but I got it wrong. So I should say, I think we've seen the esports hype bubble burst in some ways during the pandemic, at least at the K-12 level. In 2020, during the lockdowns, the field showed how it struggled to reckon with its own problematic aspects, and in many, many ways let students down during that time. My hope, my prediction for moving forward is that the field is ready for a more serious, grounded conversation about how to move esports forward in K-12 and university spaces, because there's so much to offer. It starts with community, it starts with inclusivity, it starts with education, and this is our chance for a soft reset to get things better this time around. There's so much potential for esports in schools. I have seen it change so many kids' lives. I went into esports hoping that I would get one story, and every single student who walked through my door came away with a life-changing story who participated in that program. So we can realize that promise together responsibly and with open arms to the kids that are so often excluded to gaming. Thanks.
Thank you, Grace. Next is Rachel Kowert, the research director of Take This. Please, let's give them a warm welcome. Rachel, are you there? Come on out. Thank you.
Y'all are so nice. Hi, so next 20 years of games in 3 minutes. Cool, no problem. My prediction for games for the next 20 years is that they will continue to change and shape culture for the better. Digital games are cultural assets of influence, and if you've seen me on any stage in the last year, you've heard me say that exact phrase and share this exact slide, and that's because games not only reflect culture, they create it. And I think over the next 20 years, we're going to see greater intentionality in harnessing the power of games in this way to change and shape culture for the better and change the zeitgeist, or the zeitgeist, if you will. Now, if where we've been in the last 20 years is any indication of where we're going, I think we have a bright future ahead of us, because games have already changed the way we interact with our physical spaces. They've created opportunities for marginalized groups to see themselves seen and heard in media in ways they haven't felt seen and heard in media before. They've changed the way we perceive mental health. They've changed the way we form and mold our own identities. Who was not playing Animal Crossing during COVID, right? They've changed the way we cope with crisis. They changed the way we relate to each other, what we believe is even possible. They've changed that. They've changed how we express our fandom as individuals, but also collectively. And if you thought I was not going to put a gratuitous Witcher picture up here, you don't know me at all. I think over the next 20 years, we're going to see games embed themselves in the cultural landscape in unexpected and delightful ways. Now, to be clear, games as cultural assets can also go the other way, and they can foster the ugliness, which is what I'm usually talking about on stages like this, not because I want to, but because it's important. But that only happens when we aren't paying attention, because when we're intentional with the opportunities that games create, games will continue to change the world for the better. So what does that look like? Obviously, more Pedro Pascal, step one. Clearly. But it also means curating games for connection and inspiration and destigmatization and motivation and education and fun. Although in my house, this leads to more arguments, but fun generally. I think what we're going to see is that games are going to continue to create realities that were once our wildest fantasies. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kowert. I see the clock. We're ahead of time, Susanna. We're just now we're coasting. It's good. It's a relaxed 3 minutes. It's an easy 3, right? Everyone's good. It's halftime. More learning to be done. We are excited to welcome to the stage the CEO and co-founder of Wicked Saint Studios, Jessica Murrey. Jessica, come on up here. Welcome.
Thank you. Fork the metaverse. Stab it with silverware. I'm just kidding. I'm really just kidding. Don't stab it with silverware. In blockchain, a fork is when the community changes the original protocol and the chain splits, and it keeps the history of the original but it goes in a new direction. So games have always been an escape. And now with the rapid advancement of technology like AI, Web3, Apple Vision Pro, it feels like this utopia is within our reach, where virtual worlds will be able to not just play, but live. But what happens when technology takes us further away from reality, further away from authentic human connection? There's this study that Harvard just did, an 80-year study, where it says that positive, close relationships keep us mentally and physically healthy, and are better predictors for a long, happy life than social status, IQ, and even genes. There's been a steady decline in mental health since about 2012 of young people. The CDC says that 57% of teen girls persistently feel sad, hopeless, and alone. I don't know if you've visited any high schools lately, but between classes, they're not talking to each other. They're checking their messages. They're plugging in their headphones. Social anxiety is crippling. Conflict is devastating. Judgment is impossible to face. It's so tempting for us to just disappear into the metaverse. But the real world and its problems don't go away when we close our eyes. There is magic in games. It's designed with a core game loop. Every time you go around it, you get a little bit better, a little bit better. What's happening is you're gaining mastery. When kids become a master at something, that's when they start believing in themselves. That's when they hold that power, but then they stop playing, reality comes crashing back down. What would happen if all the power that they gain within the game, they keep with them? It bleeds into real life. What would happen if we take, instead of all this amazing technology and instead of abandoning a broken world, what if we take it and build a better one? At Wicked Saints, we know that experiences don't just change beliefs, but they change behavior. And so what we've done is we have a narrative game where players will feel most comfortable. They can practice dealing with people, practice dealing with conflict, and within them safely experience the consequences of those actions. And then as they get confident and they start doing stuff, they give them bite-sized ways to apply it to real life. And then we use augmented reality to bridge the fantasy world and the real world. So when I say F the metaverse, I'm saying fork it. Let's change directions from leaving behind the real world and make it so we're catalyzing change in the real one. And finally, let's make it a movement. So if you guys want to join our community and help us contribute as we contribute a small part to this movement of effing the metaverse, please join us and we'll also give you special access to our game. Thank you so much. I'm done.
Thank you. Wow, that was great. So when someone mentions Harvard in passing, I must also say that I attended Harvard College. I don't make the rules. Next up, we have, who do we have? Jay Lynn from the Hotline Director at Games and Online Harassment Hotline. So Jay Lynn, please join us on stage. Thank you, Jay Lynn.
Hi, y'all. My name's Jay. I work at Feminist Frequency. I run the Games and Online Harassment Hotline. And I think in 20 years, I want to imagine that the moral fight for abolition of police, prisons, and other carceral systems is won. Modern day slavery, that's not working. We don't want to do that anymore. We want to do something else. If you're not on the right side of justice yet, look up 8 to Abolition for a great primer. So in 20 years, we probably still have police and prisons in place, but we are divesting away from it and trying to find new alternatives. One of the things that relying on carceral systems does is it steals our capacity for imagination, because we use police and prisons to kind of sweep away a lot of our social problems problems like poverty, racism, mental health and substance use struggles, homelessness. Just lock it up so I don't have to look at it. So it's not enough to actually just defund and dismantle. Those problems persist, and we need to come up with and build new alternatives for how we want to address those things and how we want to treat each other. And in 2043, one of the ways that we are doing that is by really wielding the imaginative power of video games. So what do some of these video games look like? I think instead of killing prostitutes for bonus points, we have games made by sex workers, sharing and exploring the ways that they create safety and justice for each other without police, because they have never been able to rely on police to help them rather than hurt them. The Boom and Sandbox games, right? That's come a long way. And now we're using those to come up with really creative and hyper-local ways to provide safe housing for all. An ambitious project, but Sandbox players are nothing if not ambitious. And now that we understand that police and prisons actually don't deter or end violence, they actually create more violence, we are using video games to practice and refine new and different ways to confront conflict, harm, and violence. We're breaking the binary of guilty versus innocent, and you wouldn't believe how much choices matter in some of these games with meaningful multiple endings. The narrative designers are killing it. And by unlocking so much of this imaginative potential for our society, for our culture, the landscape has really changed. Even those like space imperialism, civilization building games, now we boot those up and we're revitalizing these lands ravaged by racial capitalism and cis heteropatriarchy. And if you spec your tech trees just right, you unlock these deep cultures of consent and disability justice and liberation from the gender binary. Honestly, it rules. So yeah, y'all make games, right? Let's get to work.
Oh, we got time for some more applause for Jay. That was some good stuff. We got some time. Let's come on now. That's good. Thank you. Our final speaker of the night, please welcome Dr. Chris Alexander, the professor of video game design at Toronto's Metropolitan University. Come on up here, Dr. Alexander. Thank you. Thank you. Let's go.
Hey, what's up, folks? How y'all doing? I'm back. All right, so we're supposed to be talking. Why y'all laughing? I didn't say anything yet. All right, cool. We're supposed to talk about the future of video games. I'm gonna do it quick. Hey, where the clock at? Yeah, on the shot clock, 2:50. So I'm gonna break it up. These 3 core areas I teach at TAMU, and this is what I do, bars. Anyway, so I'm gonna focus first on video game design. You heard me talk about it already. We are looking at building. It's not likely that you're gonna teach somebody to build a cake and not show them how to build the cake. So we teach students how to build games, and as you saw, we talk about things like immigration, we talk about social belonging, and we talk about indigenous wisdom. That's what we do here, but that's a summary, because y'all heard me talk already. The next area, we're talking about esports broadcasting. Study this image, because that's all I'm gonna talk about near the end. So, I happen to be a Red Bull supported scholar, and we've put together a space called the Red Bull Gaming Hub. And you might say, wait a second, Red Bull sponsors scholars? Well, they do, if you're a 2-time globally ranked video game player, but that's a conversation for another time. Now, in partnership with these folks, we've got AMD for the computers, we got Play 5 for the chairs, we got Vipod for the haptic gaming chairs. We teach students how to program haptic feedback into chairs as part of their games, and for accessibility. More on that when I go to that breakout session. Republic of Gamers for the monitor, and Trevor Peter for the physical space. And this is what it looks like. This is what it cooks like, bars. And so what we have is a space now where we can train the pilots of the future to help us get there. Now, not only that, Games for Change, the future in 20 years is going to consist of these folks, because we recently put on an event for the quest to conquer cancer. And students did that. Organizations did that. And what game did we use, folks? Street Fighter 6, that's right. We raised money using Street Fighter 6. I play Street Fighter 6, I use Kimberly, fun fact. Anyway, take a look at the future in 20 years. You're seeing it now. You're seeing these students who are building things immediately. You've got, look at the joy. Oh, yo, photos by Jay, you can find them online. Take a picture of that and get at Jay. She's fire. There was another Jay that was right before her, a different Jay. Anyway, look at the community, look at the excitement, look at the raising of the awareness. Look at somebody holding an L in Street Fighter 6 for charity. Look at the group Incendium.gg who put this all together. There is not a single discipline that does not in some way connect to and through the video games and esports industry. The future is us in recognizing that this is the case. Most people are only thinking about game programmers. Oh, I can't include myself in video games, but if you look, there are, look at, right over there. You've got audio artists, community managers, producers, artists. Everything that's in this audience right now equals the future of video games. So I suggest you get out there and build it. Thank you.